Good morning. Today is Sunday, October 6th, 2024, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast. So, looking at where Bitcoin went in the past week and where it could potentially go in the future. So, this is the start of October, the first week, and it started off pretty rocky. The beginning of the week, you had the Israel and Iran conflict starting, um, and that tanks the markets across the board. So hopefully the casualties remain low. In that type of situation, you never want to see a crisis like that. So, but it does have a material effect on the markets across the board. So you see that dropping into the beginning of the week. These are monthly candles at this point. So September actually did close as the best September on record. It was up 7.35% in September from top to bottom. So it went from 59,000 up to 63. So within that little band, that's pretty good. So again, kind of back to October, you just had that immediate down spike based on that. And then for Wednesday and Thursday, it kind of trailed off for a minute. And then Friday, it shot back up. So let's look at that on the weekly chart. Again, you have this whole dancing motion. We know that this is the bull flag at this point. You saw that first week of, the last day of September and the first week of October, you saw the spike, as we were talking about, to the downside. And I'm still pretty optimistic, and I'll show you why on the daily chart, because we have formed what I believe is going to be a higher low, which is a good sign, which means that we could be on the way back upwards. So let's turn on the drawings real quick and see where we're at. So we pretty much came down and tapped $60,000 and then came right back up. We didn't even make it down to the moving average. So in times past, you may come down to the channel, down to the channel, then you might hit the moving average or the support. And then you got held up here for 2 weeks on the moving average, and then it came up to the top of this channel. So really, I mean, you can see that this is really kind of a game of ping pong to a sort, right? It goes one way, then it rallies and volleys and rallies and volleys and rallies and volleys. That's when you're stuck in a range or a channel of some sort. It's just going to keep on bouncing around until it finally breaks out. So that's fine. We're cool with that. Let's go down to the daily chart. Go down to the daily chart and see what I was talking about earlier. So again, you had this major kind of uptrend from 53 to 66. So this was the month of September, pretty much 53 to 66. And actually, September would have even been a better month if it wasn't for that last day of September. Again, this is the day that the conflict started in the Middle East. Well, not started, it escalated in the Middle East because, yeah. So really, you had this major Monday and Tuesday drop, and then Wednesday and Thursday was stagnant pretty much. And Friday, major upshoot. I can't remember exactly why this was. Oh, this was for the non-farm payroll. So non-farm payroll numbers came out on Friday, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But basically, it showed that pretty much for the entire week, the job numbers were great. The job numbers were great across the board. And then on Friday, you had like this major, economic announcement. They do it every month, but it is one of the major news announcements, and that is at NFP. So I think they beat their expectations for the month by about 100,000 or something, or maybe like 70,000. But either way, it was still pretty good. And then you had Saturday and now Sunday. So obviously not too much movement on the weekends, but the market is still open. You can buy at that point, buy or sell. So basically, we're looking at this. What did it do? So it came to the top of this channel real quick on the daily chart, and then it shot down to really the moving averages. It shot down to the moving averages between your 100 moving average, your 50 moving average. And last week I talked about, let's see if we can zoom in here. Last week I talked about a golden cross. So like it didn't quite happen. Obviously with this major price action down, it hasn't happened yet, I should say. Once this white line crosses above the blue line, you'll have a golden cross, the 50 and the 100. And that is usually a sign that you're going to go up. So you can be preemptive in this instance and like, okay, well, maybe I want to get in a little bit early and maybe I want to put up a position here. So yeah, that's good to see. Another thing, 60,000 is a relatively whole number. It's a round number, and it's a strong level. It's been a strong level for a while. So you can see it kind of paused here, and like there was some movement around 60,000 here, a jump above, jump below, but really kind of averages out to 60,000. And I mean, you can see that the fact that even the long-term moving averages are now at $60,000. So yeah, that's good to see. There's some strong floors holding here. Some very strong floors holding at this point. So we will be at the all-time highs before you know it. We'll definitely be at the all-time highs before you know it. Okay, so yeah, this was a Thursday, Friday. You see, Friday was a pretty good day. Going all the way into, and this was technically Friday too. So it's like this. You see, this is at Thursday at the 11th hour, and then the other 3 hours on this candle are Friday morning, pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the chart. Not too much else. Let's go to Forex Factory and see what the news was for the last week. I said already, what was that? Monday, Tuesday, JOLTS job opening came in over expectations, like 1 million jobs over expectations. I'm sorry, not 1 million over. The forecast was 0.64. It came over about, what is that, 400,000 jobs over. So that's good. ADP and employment change. This is just like another measure of your NFP, your non-farm employment change. It's basically how many jobs there are in the sector that do not include agriculture and whatnot. What's the payroll for that? So that was above. Let me see. NFP is the big boy. That's 147. They projected 147 and almost doubled that to get to 254,000. So that's good. Very, very good. You saw employment rate drop a little bit. And then next week is also shaping up to be a good news week too. So you have FOMC meeting minutes. So that's from like the last meeting, maybe a couple weeks ago when they dropped interest rates. And the big one that you have next week is CPI. So this is your inflation number year over year. So right now it's at 2.5%. This is that first drop for, it's been a while actually. So you had, this first drop below here down to 2.5 on the inflation numbers. And then they're projecting 2.3, another drop. They're projecting another drop next month. It could, exceed that, or it could, get right around there. So we'll see. We'll see how that ends up looking. Hopefully that is a further drop, maybe down to, 2.3. I mean, 2.3 would be great. But yeah, we'll see. That is Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Well, actually it's 7:30 a.m. Central Time, but that should be it. That should be it for this one. Let's look at what kind of happened in the news this week. This was surprising. We already talked about the Israel conflict, but the Kobesi letter. So this was this is a guy on Twitter. He actually puts out a lot of good content. The U.S. public debt has jumped $3.45 billion over the last 3 days, hitting a record of $35 trillion. So like 345 billion, like obviously that's a pretty big number, but like that's massive compared to what we have right now. So it surged. Let me see. Since June of last year, the federal debt has surged a massive 4 trillion or 14%. That's huge. Over the same time, the GDP has only gone up $1.5 trillion. So the national debt is 2.7 times bigger than the GDP over the last 16 months. So that means we're going into massive debt, which means the price of Bitcoin is probably going to go up because like here's the thing, in dollar, the value of Bitcoin is not changing. The value of the dollar is changing rapidly because it's being debased every day with all this rapid like money printing. So it's going to look like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's getting so much more valuable. It's like, no, Bitcoin's value stays the same. It's Bitcoin and US dollar that's changing. So like the US dollar is the one that's actually getting more and more common over time. And since it's more common, it's less valuable. And that increases the price of Bitcoin. So all of this, it ties back, right? So that's, to me, an alarming number. It is something to see, but we'll take a look. We'll see how that plays out. The other thing on the supply side, so that was like the currency side. What about the supply side? So again, there's only a finite amount of Bitcoin. There's only so much on the market that is available at this point. What you end up having happen pretty much every year, every halving cycle, is a supply crunch. So there ends up being there's being more bought every day than is being mined. So at this point, there's 450 Bitcoin being mined a day, but people are buying so much more. Like 400. This is BlackRock. Obviously the big boy in the Bitcoin space in terms of holdings and whatnot. They bought 40 million worth of Bitcoin, and this was on Friday, I think, Thursday or Friday. They bought $40 million worth of Bitcoin. That's a lot. That's a ton of Bitcoin. And with Bitcoin being 60K right now, let's see what that comes out to. 40 million No, I'll give them their respect too, because it was like 800,000. Yeah, we'll get all that. Divided by, we'll say 62. That's not what I want. 48. 62,000. 658 Bitcoin. And again, that's all in one go. So they bought all the Bitcoin for that day and then some. So again, the supply overall is decreasing. And things don't happen immediately. Like these just because he bought this, that doesn't mean price surges immediately. There's usually a lag. There's a lag in time usually between when something happens like this and when it actually comes into effect on the price chart. So we'll see. That's pretty much all it is this week. I do believe that we're going into a great October. October historically is one of the better months for Bitcoin. They call it Uptober, and then November and December. Q4 as a whole is always one of the best. On average, is one of the best times for Bitcoin. I talked about that quite a bit last week. But yeah, other than that, I think it's going to be an exciting week. Like I said, we'll check it out. This has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out any crypto-based resources on christalkscrypto.com and join the Pulse on Crypto Discord. I will see y'all on the moon. Take care. Bye-bye.